Is she originally from Somalia?
Sure.
So how are they doing this? How's their government? Do they have a president? Do they have a council? Do they have anything? Do they have police? I love these people that come from a place with nothing, no anything. And then they tell us how to run our country.
Somalis are not terrorizing this nation. We are helping it thrive.
And how exactly are you doing that?
Somalis have always seen themselves as a fabric of this nation.
You might be willing to consider another fabric.
So not only are we not going anywhere.
Oh, come on!
Not only are we not going anywhere, we are not going to allow anybody to make us feel less Minnesotan or less American.
I look at Omar, I don't know, I never met her. Well, I'm saying that if they're not happy here, they can leave. They can leave, and you know what? I'm sure that there'll be many people that won't miss them.
Trump is scapegoating a tiny piece of the population, some of the most vulnerable people in our country. But Trump based his order on a report whose author has made it clear that his goal is to denaturalize and deport as many Somali Americans as possible. This is not about crime. It's not about safety. This is about purging people like me from this country. Minnesota has always been a welcoming place for people fleeing a home country that is blasted by war, poverty, and hunger. Europeans in the 19th and 20th century, Black Americans from the South, Hmong and Vietnamese, Liberians and East Africans and Latin Americans. This embrace of new culture is one of our greatest strengths. The first generation came here as immigrants, the second as Americans. They are our teachers, nurses, blue-collar workers, small business owners, and public servants. Donald Trump wants to make Americans hate each other over race and religion. That might play well on Truth Social or Fox News, but it's not going to work here in real life. Minnesotans know better. We care about our neighbors. We live and work alongside each other. Our kids go to the same schools. We shovel each other's cars out of snow. We are not afraid of each other, and we are not afraid of Donald Trump. He will lose this fight in court, and we will show his effort to divide us only brings us closer together and make us stronger.
Amigo, não tem problema, amigo, eu não tenho problema, amigo. Hold on, P, man. Sorry. Move back. Out the way, boys, out the way. You will get knocked down. Move!
Hello guys, now welcome back again to this platform. Now this is just what is happening right now, and I think things are getting so hot for Ilhan Omar after this fraud scheme was reported to Donald, and he decided that I'm going towards this direction. Things have not been the same. Now I just want us to watch some of the clips here of Somalis and Ilhan Omar responding to Trump after Trump said that I'm going to deport you. Let's jump in and see what we have here. Then later on, let's gather here. I'm going to be reacting to the video, and I would also urge you to like the video, share the content, subscribe to the channel. I'm going to greatly appreciate. For now, let's log in.
Somalis are faking autism to steal money and sending money back home, even to some terrorist organizations. Why is this narrative being pushed on my For You page? What is this? Let's be honest real quick. Firstly, autism funding does not go to parents. You don't get a check for having a child diagnosed with autism. What? The money goes straight to schools, clinics, providers, not families. Yeah. So let's get rid of the idea that Somali parents are profiting from autism. Huh? Ridiculous. Appreciate that. Secondly, autism rates are higher in Somali community. That's real. Yeah, the research says it. It's because of what? Delayed diagnosis, environmental factors, and genetics, not fraud. Appreciate that. Because there's not a single peer-reviewed study that has ever claimed that Somalis are faking diagnosis. Appreciate that.
It's hard to believe stuff like this is real. Listen to this insanity. In 2023, the Somali community in America sent $1.7 to $2 billion back to Somalia through these underground cash networks. Somalia's entire government budget that year, $1 billion. The actual GDP of the whole country, like $11 billion. So basically, Somali Americans are outfunding the Somali government with money, a huge chunk of which was straight up stolen from Minnesota taxpayers. We're talking about over $1 billion in proven fraud cases already. Feeding Our Future, $250 million, autism clinics, $400 million, housing scams, $320 million, daycare scams, and that's just what they've caught. Hundreds of people indicted, thousands more new, because you can't move that much cash without the whole neighborhood being aware. And how does the money leave the country? Hawala. Have you heard of this? No banks, no wires, no trail, just a phone call or text through a trust network, and proof your $50K in Minneapolis is cash in Mogadishu tomorrow. Everyone in the Somalian community knows who moves the money. And the kicker? A fat slice of every dollar that hits Somalia gets taxed by Al-Shabaab and Al-Qaeda's East African franchise. So Minnesota welfare money, your taxes, ends up buying AK-47s and IEDs for terrorists. Wild. Now flip it. There's about 150,000 Somalians in the US. If the roles were reversed, that's the same as roughly 1.2 million American citizens moving to Somalia, milking their welfare system for billions, then wiring it all back home to fund terrorists attacking the country trying to help. What? Imagine Americans doing this in another country and nobody noticing. This world would rightfully lose their minds, but nobody seems to care when it's done to us. If that isn't crazy enough, we were already giving $2 billion to Somalia every year aside from what was being stolen. How does something this gigantic stay hidden? Anyone else outraged? Anyone want to try to defend this? Let's talk about it in the comments.
She lied on immigration forms. She appears to have married her own brother. And now the Trump administration is cracking down. And Representative Ilhan Omar, she now has very real reason to sweat getting deported for immigration fraud. This is Kyle Becker with Explain America. Before we get into this story, please like, comment, and share. We appreciate your support for common sense journalism. President Donald Trump's Department of Justice is preparing to unleash a sweeping new campaign targeting foreign nationals who lied, defrauded, or committed crimes to obtain U.S. citizenship. And it's sending shockwaves through D.C. A newly circulated DOJ memo, issued by Assistant Attorney General Brett A. Shoemate, instructs federal attorneys to, quote, prioritize and maximally pursue denaturalization proceedings, unquote, including against individuals who conceal gang ties, human rights abuses, financial crimes, or simply committed fraud in the naturalization process. That last category is key because according to overwhelming documentation, Representative Ilhan Omar, she checks all the boxes. For years, credible allegations have circulated that Ilhan Omar lied on her immigration documents, used a false name, and even married her own biological brother in an immigration fraud scheme to help him gain legal status in the United States.
So it's been known for quite a while that Ilhan Omar apparently married her own brother to help him gain entry illegally into the country. That's a violation of immigration law. That actually happened, it turns out. And now we're learning the FBI had evidence to confirm it, but didn't do anything about it. Miranda Devine is an actual journalist. She works at the New York Post, where she writes a column. She joins us tonight to explain what exactly happened. Miranda, thanks so much for coming on.
Pleasure, Tucker. Well, some basically Republican operatives up in Minnesota decided to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on private investigators to really find out if Ilhan Omar was a genetic match, the DNA match, to the man who was her second husband. They went to 3 continents. They found a cigarette butt and a drinking straw, which they decided, they sent it to a DNA laboratory and found conclusively that the DNA matched, that the second husband was a sibling, according to this DNA sample. So the very day that they were going to unleash this on the world, and in fact I was interviewing one of the people involved, the FBI swooped on the gentleman, Anton Lazaro, from this Republican PAC up in Minnesota, and arrested him on some different charges. Who knows whether he's guilty or not guilty. I mean, he's not guilty until proven, but he's in jail. And so his story never got to see the light of day. I mean, luckily he'd told the FBI they were not interested. They told him the statute of limitations had run out. We managed to see the website before he took it down, before he was arrested, and managed to report the story such as it was.
These claims have been backed up by archived school records, immigration timelines, and social media evidence, and were reportedly in the hands of the FBI as early as 2016. And yet, nothing happened. Now, under President Trump, that may change. The DOJ's denaturalization memo states civil proceedings will be prioritized in cases involving fraud or misrepresentation during the naturalization process, gang membership, terrorism or espionage, human trafficking or sexual offenses, or any other material deception that enabled a person to unlawfully become a U.S. citizen. And here's the kicker. These are civil proceedings, meaning the burden of proof is lower, and there's no right to a court-appointed lawyer. If the government has the evidence, it can strip citizenship and initiate removal proceedings. The DOJ memo comes just weeks after a judge stripped citizenship from Elliot Duke, a convicted child predator and U.S. veteran who lied on his naturalization paperwork. If they could denaturalize him, well, Ilhan Omar may be next. And the Democrats are already panicking. Heritage Foundation's Hans von Spakovsky summed it up, quote, "I do not understand how anyone could possibly be opposed to the Justice Department taking such action to protect the nation from obvious predators, criminals, and terrorists," unquote. That's exactly what many Americans feel Ilhan Omar represents. A fraudster, a radical, and a sitting member of Congress who allegedly scammed the system and smeared the country that took her in.
In a dictatorship. And I don't even remember ever witnessing anything like that. To have a democracy, a beacon of hope for the world, to now be turned into one of the worst countries where the military are in our streets without any regard for people's constitutional rights, while our president is spending millions of dollars propping himself up like a failed dictator with a military parade.
So when does the hammer fall? That may depend on whether the FBI reopens its investigation and whether DOJ leaders act on it. But with Trump back in the White House and a DOJ on the offense, denaturalization just became very real. And Omar may have finally run out of time.
There are moments in politics when something happens and most people only catch the headline. What just happened in Minnesota is one of those moments. Because while many Americans saw a headline about Trump ending a program for Somali immigrants, very few understood why he did it, how it connects to Ilhan Omar's district, and what kind of investigation triggered it behind the scenes. This isn't a small administrative adjustment. This is a decisive move aimed at dismantling a network that federal investigators say has been draining taxpayer funds, rerouting money overseas, and destabilizing an entire region of the state. Trump just shut down a program affecting hundreds of people tied to a fraud network with somewhere between 250 and 300 million. And somehow all of it circles back to Minneapolis and a political figure whose district is now under more scrutiny than at any time in recent memory. Today, I'm going to walk you through exactly what happened, why so few outlets are explaining the real reason behind Trump's decision, and why this could reshape the political future of Ilhan Omar and Minnesota as a whole. And I want to do this in a way that makes sense, because this story matters to every American who pays taxes, who trusts their government to manage programs honestly, and who wonders what happens when those systems break down.
Now, sometimes it is always advised that you maybe keep your mouth shut, especially when you're dealing with, high-profile people or someone who is at a higher rank than you. Now, I don't know if this, came to the mind of, Ilhan. Of course, I believe she's given a chance to, uh, serve the public at the office, but at sometimes it is always good to be wise. I'm not saying that she wasn't wise enough, but how you deal with these world leaders. Uh, Personally, I don't think what Somalis did was the right thing. Of course, people are really working hard, and you can see how life is so hard, in America. And in that situation, you get to find people, having these money laundering schemes. These are hurting the economy. It is also hurting the very people that are working. I could see a lot of Americans cry and say, man, things are not working out, and this is not the America that we used to know. This is not, we are not having that American dream that was sold out years ago. And you could see all this frustration, people working so hard, people working not even so extra hard to afford a living in America, and at the same time pay the government. And so you get to feel so sad when you hear your money is being used to benefit someone who is not worth it. Of course, if it was used to repair roads, it was used to send kids to school, that's a different story. But when you hear you're working your ass off, just to uh, pay for luxury for someone else, someone you don't know, it's so heartbreaking. And personally, I think it was a right thing for Trump to do, to stop that program, to stop running, so that Americans can stop losing a lot of cash in that scheme. And at the same time, seeing Trump, saying that he's going to deport Iran and her counterpart, I don't think it was a good idea. Maybe you might be thinking differently, but personally, always, standing for justice. I would love to see the perpetrators of these, uh, these atrocities, being brought to book, and someone who is not, into that scheme should not be caught up with the rest, because maybe he's innocent, she's innocent, and deporting that kind of person, it is not justice. And I believe justice should take its course, and not everyone should be included in uh, in the punishment that the Somalis ought to get. I'm always believing that there's always a way to handle, situations, there is always a way to handle given problems in the right manner. Now, these are just my thoughts. I believe we might have different, opinions concerning, different matters, and that's allowed. But regardless of all that, hit your comment in the comment section, and I'll be here to learn from you, to learn from your view, to learn from your perspective. Of course, I believe we have, minds that are, thinking differently outside there. Do you think Trump really needs to do it? Or do you think he should get an alternative to this? Because for me, I always believe there is always a way to handle matters in different way that will not affect innocent people, and that should be followed. But if you think otherwise, drop your comment in the comment section. I'll be here to learn from you, and I believe someone else will also get to learn from your comment. So hesitate don't hesitate dropping that comment. I've been your presenter, Shadrach, and thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for for my returning subscribers, for always showing the love that you have for me, always checking out what I have here. Thank you so much. Really hoping to be seeing you in my next video, but until then, praying that and also urging you take care of yourselves, be vigilant, and extend a hand where it is needed. Remember, we always preach about humanity, and what's humanity if not taking care of each other? What's humanity if not caring about each other? So if you see a black folk out there who needs your help, extend it, because life is worth living if we stand for each other. And goodbye, my people. I'm really hoping to see you, and remember that I do love you so much. I value your presence here. See you soon.